Your task today is this My Feedback and Redo sheet. There are 4 different steps. You're going to fill in your strengths and areas for improvement from your December mock paper. You're going to write down which question it was that your teacher has asked you to redo. And then the final step is to do that improvement, to redo 1 or 2 of your questions. And this video will tell you how to do it. Step 1 is going to be to open up your exam paper from December, that mock exam you completed. These have all been scanned in and sent to you by email, so make sure you open up your email and get your document. Now, when you open it, you can flick through it and you might notice that it is side on. If it is side on, you're going to want to sort this, just going to make everything else a bit easier. So you want to rotate it so that you can actually read it a bit easier. I'm going to click this button at the top for me, but see where there's a rotate function in whatever application you're using to open up this PDF, and see if you're able to rotate it. If you're using your phone, then obviously just turn your phone. Now, you'll be able to see your answers and you'll remember this exam. And you can have a little look through. You might have a few little comments or some ticks and things like that. But the main feedback is going to be right at the end. So if you scroll right to the very end of this document, you will see something. Now, at the very, very end, we've got a space for a redo. There we go. It says my redo. We're not going to use this because we would have used this had we been in school. You would have written this on the actual sheet, would have filed it away. So we're going to ignore that because we're not using that because we have to do it online. But if you go to the second last part, you've got this part here. Now you can see that I'm going to have to just rotate this again because this is sideways. It's upside down. I keep going. There we go. Now I can read this. Now this is the sheet that you want. This has got your feedback from your teacher on it, and it also tells you which questions to redo. So you're going to use this to fill in your feedback and redo sheet. First of all, have a look at the key up at the top. Notice how it says strengths and then areas to improve, and there's a color here that's been used to highlight. Now this one's a little bit faint, but you can just make it out because these have been scanned in, so they're not quite as clear as they might be if you got them in person. But you can see that that is faded in kind of orange, and then these 2 are marked orange. That's areas for improvement. So this student here has been given these 2 bullet points as areas for improvement. And some of the strengths that have been given are marked here. So what you want to do, first of all, is to just take down a summary of what your strengths are and what your areas for improvement are. The easiest way to jot this down is to just move your 2 windows side by side so you can see both of these sheets at the same time, so you're not having to click back and forth between tabs. Okay, so I'm going to have a look now at my strengths. So under strengths, I'm going to write for a question, gives clear definitions. For B questions, I'm going to put technique, risk times 1. What else do I have as strength? I also have C question, technique, risk times 2. I'll put that in brackets so it looks the same. Also for C questions, I had gives detailed religious teaching, so I'm just going to put detailed R because I know what that means. R is for religious teachings, right? And then also for D question, I had correct technique for a do. So I'm just going to put that a do. I'll put that in brackets so it looks the same as everything else. And there we go. I've got a summary. I'll get rid of those spaces, make it neater. I've got a summary of my strengths. Now, what were my areas of improvement? Well, if I just move this along a little bit, you can see includes a wide range of religious teachings. So areas for improvement. Which question was it? It was D. Okay, so need wider range of religious teachings, and also include sources with detail. So this is D again, needs more detail in sources. Okay, let's check that spelling. More detail in sources. Okay, so Quran comes from, for example. Okay, good. So I've got some ideas about what it's talking about here. So it says include source with detail. Quran comes from. So rather than just saying this is from the Quran, I also want to say something about the Quran. So I'm going to put that in brackets to remind me as well. So Quran comes from ... I want to make sure I'm doing something like that, right? Change that to capital. Okay, so I've recorded my areas for improvement and my strengths. Now let's have a look. What questions have I been asked to redo? we can see here my teacher's written in 1D and 2D. So I've been asked to focus on the D questions. Now it says here, question to redo, either do 1 times D question or 2 times B or C. So because I've only got options of D, I'm just going to choose one of these D questions to do. So I'm going to decide, I'm just going to do the first one, 1D. Okay, I'm going to put question 1D here, so I know that's the one I'm redoing, so my teacher knows when they mark it. Okay, that's me now ready. Now what I want to do is have a look at what that question was and find out how to improve it. So I've got my exam paper on the left hand side. Well, this is one of my students, just using it as an example. And then on the right hand side, I've got my feedback and redo sheet, which is what I've got to fill in. I've got to put my improvement, my redo, into this space here. So let's find the question that I'm going to redo so I can write that in the box. So it says 1D. Okay, so if I have a look here, it says 1, we've got A, B, C, and then D. If you're doing 2D, then you just keep scrolling. So here we go, we've got number 2, A, B, and you can see C and D would be after that. So this is the question I'm going to redo. So D question. It says Hajj is the most important duty in Islam. Okay, first of all, I'm going to write that in here. Okay, there we go, I've got it written in. Now I want to focus on what it is that I need to improve. Now I'm looking back here again, I need to have more religious teachings and I need to have more detail in the source. So I'm going to use some of the information that I've got here already. I'm going to copy some of this out of here, but I'm also then going to be thinking about how can I make it better as I go. Also, if there's any comments left by your teacher on your actual assessment, take those on board as well. So I can see it says that is marriage and there's an arrow pointing and it's underlined half their deen. Okay, so if I read this sentence, it says Hajj is the most important duty in Islam. Many Muslims today will do Hajj as it is half their deen. Okay, so this was incorrect. It's actually marriage which is half their deen, and deen is your religious duty. Hajj is not, so that's a mistake. So I want to make sure when I'm writing my answer out again that I don't make that mistake again. Right. If you're ready, what you could do now is you could do your redo here based on comments here, based on the areas that you need to improve, and for extra information, you can have a look at your book, have a look back at your notes. However, there's one last thing that you can do to help yourself, and that's the final document that we've not looked at yet. So in your Google Classroom, you had this Google document, my feedback and redo sheet, but you also had another thing. Okay, you had an answers guide. So if you have a look at the answers guide, you can find the question that you're redoing. So for example, if I'm doing 1D, I can find that question and it's going to give me some information to help me structure my response. Here we are. So I've opened up this answers guide and put it on the left hand side here. I'll just move it a little bit over. Now, if you scroll through this, you'll see that I've got all the questions, and underneath the question, I've got technique in the orange box, information in the blue, and then some sentence starters in the green. And this is for each question, okay? Here's the question that I'm going to redo. So this is the 1D. Hajj is the most important duty in Islam. Now you can see that the word Hajj and duty are circled in red. That's because those are the things that this question is about. I have to make sure I'm talking about these, otherwise I'm not answering the question. The technique is a do. I need one agree paragraph, one disagree paragraph, one overall paragraph. And in the blue box here, I've got information that I could use for the agree paragraph, for the disagree paragraph, and also how to structure my overall paragraph. So I can use this to help me with my answer. Okay, now you have everything you need in order to do your own redo. Scroll through this document and find the question that you're going to do and use this information to help you. Okay, you're now ready, guys, to go and do this yourself. Spend some time working on your improvement, and once you've finished it at the end of this lesson, please submit it to your teachers.